Welcome back, everybody. As you probably guessed from the title of the video, today we are going over this particular firearm right here. It is brand new as of when I'm releasing this video, which is why I'm out here filming on a dreary and cold day with construction going on. So if you hear anything in the background, that is why we're trying to get the video out on the release date. But this is the brand new Smith & Wesson folding pistol carbine, which kind of points at yourself, which is maybe a safety violation if you guys are sticklers on the rules, but of course they can't fire in this configuration. So what is it? Well, it is a new 9mm folding carbine from the folks over at Smith & Wesson. It is folded in this particular position and it is locked in place by a friction lock on the M-lock rail and our charging handle that we will get into to break it open and put it into action. That's really all you got to do. Now at this point, if you wanted to actually get it in action, you would just have to charge the charging handle and you'd be good to go. But before we get into all of those details and sort of walk through the firearm piece by piece, tip to butt, if you will, I'm gonna head out to the range and take a look and see what kind of groups we can actually get with this little thing here, and then come back and then walk through all of those details. Now we're going to lay down a couple groups with this carbine here. So we have the target down range at 50 yards. We have a Crimson Trace red dot on there. It is a 3 MOA dot. No magnification, that's why we're at 50. Me personally, I don't feel it's really fair to the gun with a pistol caliber, particularly with the wind that we have out here today, to go beyond that without magnification. So in the gun right now, we have some Minuteman munitions, 115 grain, and then we have some normal hollow points, and we'll see what we can do. CTK precision rest and a sock filled with sand, very highly technical setup here. So we'll see what we can do. All right. That was using the factory standard capacity 23 round mags. Now we have, again, Norma, 108 grain, I believe, right? All copper, yep, hollow points. And that's gonna be chambered, or rather, loaded up in a Pro Mag. So I have no idea if they work in this gun. We're about to find out together. It certainly seats just fine. That load is definitely a little bit hotter. Let's go check those groups out. I can't really see them here with my naked eye. At this point, y'all know better than I do, but first group up there with those Minutemans, it looks like they're all right there. Again, you guys know if they all went in one hole or not, besides that one, but that's a pretty good group. We're right at center to center, about 1 3/8 inches on that one. Then the normal, I mean, that's nutty for a pistol caliber. That's one of the better ones I've ever shot in my life. That's for sure. We are under an inch. We're about 7/8 inches center to center on that group. So obviously at 50 yards, multiply by 2, and there's your MOA. But with a red dot, yeah, I will take that all day and twice on Sunday. As y'all saw, it is pretty darn accurate. So we'll start out here at the end and sort of work our way down. So throughout the testing of this firearm, we have had the Huxworks Cash 9K on there, small 9mm suppressor, and you know, a lot of folks say, why don't you test it without the suppressor? We did test it without it, but testing it with the silencer on there just makes it a little bit more difficult and adds a little bit of stress to it. Also adds more fouling into the action, so it sort of speeds everything up, if you will, in the testing process. So we ran it suppressed the whole time. It does come threaded 1/2 by 1/28, and it does include a thread protector. One of the, I guess, improvements that I would recommend for the folks over at Smith & Wesson is to add a flash hider on there. I know a lot of folks will be fine with the thread protector rather, but why not add a flash suppressor if you can? It doesn't hurt anything, cuts down on flash, cuts down on concussion. That is my 2 cents anyway. Continuing on back, we do have a nice lightweight tapered 9mm barrel. It is melanited or nitrided depending on the actual, you know, term that you prefer, but is a QPQ type of process, and it is very thin all the way down. This rifle here is very lightweight overall. If I can't find the weight in the manual, I will actually throw it on a scale so you guys can see how light it is. But in terms of lightweight handiness, even with the can on there, the light, the optic, etc., very, very lightweight, very handy. I do dig that. Continuing on back, we do have an M-LOK rail on there. And interestingly enough, basically right here, right here, right here, right here, here, essentially every 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches, there is a polymer section that goes and wraps right around the barrel. So initially you'd think the barrel is free floated, but I don't think it is. I think it's actually touching at multiple points on that polymer. But as you guys saw from the accuracy portion of the test, it doesn't seem to impact function at all. And you guys can see that right out there on the end. If you guys look in there, it's like that all the way down. And you know, there's several rifles out there. IWI, for example, makes a few that have that type of system. And again, it didn't seem to impact accuracy, but it is just something to point out there. M-LOK slots, like I said, all the way down, 3, 6, 9 o'clock position. However, the offset slots are M-LOK, but they're M-LOK at an angle with the polymer. So if you guys are familiar with the Smith Wesson M&P 22, for example, it's very similar in that regard. So some of your M-LOK accessories will work in the offset positions, some will not. It just kind of is what it is. But the 3, 6, and 9 o'clock position, your M-LOK stuff will work just fine in there. You can run a vertical foregrip on this. Obviously, it's 16 inches with the barrel rather is 16 inches, so you don't have to worry about any of those stupid NFA laws. You can do so, and you can actually fold it like that, which is something that a lot of competitive offerings rather don't let you do. The same is true with the optic and the light. You can run them on there just fine, and it folds, as you guys can see. But it is a polymer handguard, so if that's something that concerns you, just know that going forward. But it seems pretty solid in my opinion. It's nice and thin, lets you get a nice C-clamp on it if that is something that you're into, which most of us probably are at this point. On the top there, we have our 1913 rail that goes all the way down in terms of where the barrel is, but it does not continue here onto the receiver. I think that is going to be a miss for the folks at Smith & Wesson. So if we're adding another improve to the list, what I would like to see the optic rail continue all the way down onto the receiver. Obviously it couldn't be connected, but you could have them made up. So that way, if you wanted to add, for example, like I wanted to run a magnifier on this, but you just can't because of the eye relief issue that you run into having the optic forward mounted in the scout-like configuration that we have it here. Continuing on back, our folding mechanism, pretty solid. So obviously it is polymer, as you guys can see here, and that initially concerned me, but I opened and closed this thing like probably literally 100 times just to see if it would loosen up, and it didn't. You can fold this with the bolt forward. It doesn't have to be in the rearward position. Basically, you're just going to pull out on it and it will fold down. That exposes the chamber. You can see there we do have a nice wide feed ramp in there for any type of hollow points. We had no issues with hollow points at all. We fed the Normas that you guys saw there. We also shot some 147 grain Winchesters through it just to make sure it was still nice and quiet, and it is. And this portion right here is very solid, the way the polymer locks in. And I actually was, again, very concerned because this latch here is polymer. It didn't move, guys. I don't know what to tell you. If it did, I would tell you, but it didn't. So locks up very, very solid there, and there's absolutely no wiggle at all when it is locked up. So there has to be some sort of tensioning device on this latch here. It's the only thing I can think of that would make it like really stay in place with no wiggle, and it has absolutely no wiggle, so that is good. But again, in the folded position, the way it actually locks into place has to do with the charging handle right there. If I move my hand, locking into the M-LOK slot. So if you want to go ahead and change handguards out, things like that, this probably isn't the gun for you because it is a system that all sort of works together to create the FPC, if you will. So obviously you can't run the charging handle in this position because it is locked up in the M-LOK handguard, and basically you can't do anything in this position outside of changing out your magazine until you get it back into the open position. And again, it's just a tension lock at this point to pull it out and lock it into position. Continuing on rearward, we do have our slide stop and slide lock ambidextrous. However, mine, sample size of 1, it does not work ambidextrously. So before I actually show you that, I want to talk about the charging handle. So the charging handle on this one is this affair right here, back here on our buffer tube. Again, if we're getting into pros and cons, right? One thing that you look at in any of these PCC type of rifles that operate on a similar type design, you'll notice that they all have some sort of latch down here on the bottom. For example, the Kel-Tec, which we'll pull out here in just a second, has a little handle that you grab onto on the bottom. One thing I like about the Kel-Tec versus this is that you can actually grab it one-handed. This one, you kind of can, but if you come back and you're used to AR-15 charging handles, for example, you cannot grab that, because what you're actually doing when you go to do that is you're causing tilt in the charging handle, and you're causing added friction that otherwise wouldn't be there. So what you actually need to do to charge it is to grab both fingers on both sides and apply even, force to pull it back. And then at that point, you are pulling your bolt open, as you can see there. Now, discussing that, I'm pushing up on the right side latch there, our left side latch rather, with my right thumb. That will lock the bolt to the rear. Additionally, it does lock open on the last round, so it has last round bolt hold open with factory M&P magazines that we'll talk about here in just a second. However, our right side here, if I go to lock it open with that, I'll just show you. If I push up as hard as I can on there and pull back, it will not engage. It just simply won't. It slides forward. You can feel it start to engage, but it will not engage. So while it is ambidextrous in terms of locking open, on my particular example, sample size of 1, and unfortunately when I'm making this video, I haven't seen other people's videos, so I can only go with what I have here. But on this side, if I push up, it does work. On this side, if I push up, it doesn't work. Now you can let the bolt go forward from either side. So here, if we have the bolt locked open, we can push down. I was able to do it earlier. There we go. And you can send the bolt home, but again, I just can't get it to lock, so that sort of is a con in my opinion. The charging handle, I don't know if it's a pro or a con, honestly. It's just something to note. If you're used to ARs, you cannot do that. You have to come over the top. You can come under the bottom as well, but you have to put that even pressure on there to get it to ride in that rail down here where your bolt goes as it's firing. Continuing rearward to the stock here, it is not adjustable. It kind of looks like it would be, but it isn't. Some pros of it is that it's super comfortable. There's no doubt about it. It has that SOP mod style angle to it. And again, when you're actually firing it, it's extremely comfortable. With a little bit of facial hair, I haven't noticed it get caught yet, but who knows, the jury is still out on that. Of course, it is polymer, and it does have a QD plate here at the end. You can actually attach QD either from the inside or from the outside. It is metal reinforced. I don't know if it's steel or aluminum. It's one of the two though, for sure, which is nice for added durability. On the receiver here, we do not have any QD points, but again, M-LOK, so you can attach any of your QD sling swivels that you want to, or of course, just run some paracord and be good to go for sling purposes. Disassembly on this guy, I'm not gonna do it here on video just to keep this video relatively quick, but before getting the pistol in, I did disassemble it, lubricate it, go over all of those sorts of things, and I will tell you the disassembly is not easy. It's not incredibly difficult or anything like that, don't get me wrong, but compared to like a modern striker fire gun, it's not exactly the easiest. You kind of have to work at it, and that would be, I guess, a con of it. But how often are you actually going to disassemble it? Probably not that often. Is it really a big deal? Probably not. If you guys want to see a clean and lubrication video on this firearm, let me know. We can do that and make a dedicated tutorial for you guys. And as I stated earlier, we are going to talk about the magazine. So if you live in a state that allows it, it is going to ship with a 17-round magazine, so standard capacity in that regard, and then additionally 2 standard capacity 23-round magazines. From what I understand, these are remnants from the Army's MHS program, and they do work in other M&P pistols. So hopefully Smith & Wesson, if you guys are paying attention, I would add these to all of the other Smith & Wesson M&P 9s out there, because everyone should have a standard capacity 23-round magazine with their gun. But obviously it goes in there, fits flush with this piece right here, which is this little sleeve. If you want to add it on there, that also will allow you to, I don't have one out here, I should have brought it, but it will also allow you to use M&P compact magazines. So if you have the 15-round M&P compact magazines, you can use those in here and still get a full grip on it. Of course, you don't need to use that sleeve if you do not want to, but coming with 3 magazines, 2 of them being standard capacity 23-round mags, I do like that. The M&P mags are becoming more and more popular, and they're not insanely priced either, which I do like as well. And again, in my use, they've been very, very reliable. Grip texture on here, very similar to what you would see on your standard M&P 2.0 pistol. The one thing that's different is out here on the front, for whatever reason, it is not as aggressive on the actual FPC as it is on the pistol. My guess is that's because under recoil, that's where you want that aggression in terms of texture, and you don't really have that here on a pistol caliber carbine, so that's probably why they did that. But on the backstrap there, it feels identical to me, and of course it does come with multiple backstraps, so you can swap your backstraps out. It's the same system as always, basically, where you're just going to pull your tool out, and then you can just swap your different backstraps out. Like always, it is quite literally that easy. And again, I'm not going to go over disassembly here, but that piece right there is very easy. Another thing I wanted to point out is that it does ship in this case right here. Mine has dog hair on it, so you know it's super authentic from Mr. Colt, but basically you can open it up and it straps down here in the folded position with a silencer on there. For example, this Cash 9K, it actually still fits in there just fine. But of course it's gonna have to be a small can, but it has other things in there as well. We have our manual, we also have our stupid lock that's mandated by the federal government. And then we have our interchangeable backstraps that we alluded to earlier. And it has another spot in there if you wanted to add tools, extra mags, whatever the case may be. It also has a sling that it comes with, so you can actually carry this several different ways. It has our attachment points here, here, and here. So again, you could wear it in a number of different ways. It is quote unquote gray man-ish, so that is nice. And let's talk reliability and price point, which of course are always going to be important. So price point on this, from what I've seen right now, again, I'm recording this before these are actually being announced, has been right around $700 to $750. Street price, of course, will probably be a little bit cheaper. I would imagine that will likely go down as time goes on, but you never know. The M&P 5.7's been out for months now, and it's actually gone up in price due to demand. So who knows how the demand on these is going to be? I don't know. But reliability on this one has been 100%. So right now we have just under 400 rounds through it, so not a ton. But again, I'm just trying to get this video out to you guys. But mostly Minuteman munitions, like I mentioned, the Winchester 147 grainers, and then you guys saw the Norma as well. It has been 100% reliable, for sure. Let's talk about some other things in terms of ergonomics. Obviously, it has the M&P grip, which is very ergonomic. But one thing that's not super ergonomic for left-handed shooters, in my opinion, is going to be the safety. So it is a cross bolt safety right up here on the front. You guys can see when you push it over, red is dead, which is perfectly fine if, of course, you are a right-handed shooter like a normal person. But if for whatever reason God hates you and you were born a left-handed person, obviously the ergonomics are not the best, because you're going to have to come underneath or some other weird such left-handed thing, or bring your hand back like you would an AK, whatever the case may be. So there is that. Additionally, one thing that is in your favor as a lefty is that the magazine release is swappable. It's not ambidextrous, but it's swappable. The other kind of downside, I guess you could say, if you are a lefty, is that, as you can see when you're firing it, it's a straight blowback gun. So there's nothing fancy going on in here in terms of the recoil system. It's just a big old bolt that is slowing it down. And especially suppressed, you're very likely going to get gas in your face. I realize most of you aren't going to run it suppressed, so it's probably not that big of a deal. But as a lefty, that's probably just, generally speaking, not a good thing. You can't exactly switch which side it ejects from. So there is that. Reliability, price point, and what do I think of the gun overall? Well, like I said, there's a couple things I would change. I would add a flash hider for sure from the factory. There's just no reason not to. And anybody who's going to use this for like a light, handy, like a camp gun or something like that, if you think like the Marlin carbine or the Kel-Tec or whatever the case may be, that really is kind of how people view these types of firearms. Obviously, it's perfectly at home in a home defense scenario or something like that. And versus a pistol like this, your hit probability with something like a long gun absolutely goes up. I have done videos on that in the past. That is a topic for another day, but it's absolutely true. So if I was in a static position, didn't have to move around, I would much prefer to have this versus this if I had to defend my life, for sure. The added velocity that you get out of the 16-inch barrel with 9mm can be a pro or it can be a con. It's very ammunition dependent. Some ammunition, of course, is designed to expand at a lower velocity, and if you put it into a higher velocity barrel like this, you'll get insufficient penetration. So just kind of be sure, if you're going to do that, that you pick your ammunition wisely. But all in all, it seems like a good gun. It's very lightweight. I guess the way they probably achieved that was by using certain things that folks aren't going to seem like mil-spec-ish in terms of in the comment section. I can just anticipate what you guys are going to say. The polymer handguard, the polymer receiver top, those sorts of things. Not don't quite feel as durable, I guess you'd say, but honestly, knowing Smith & Wesson, I would imagine they've done a lot of testing on it and that it is quite durable. I'm sure they have several sponsored 3-gun competitors and PCC competitors, and that will be running very, very high round counts through them. So we will see how that goes in the future. But yeah, like I said, I would like to see a flash hider from the factory. I would like to see an optics rail continue on back to the receiver. And I would like to see the disassembly be a little bit less complicated. And again, if you guys want to see that video on how to do that, just let me know. But as of right now, that's my take on the firearm. If you guys have any questions, definitely let me know down below in the comment section. If you guys want to see it compared to anything else, let me know down below in the comment section. If you're new here and you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Every single day I get comments that folks have been unsubscribed by YouTube from this channel, so just double check that as well if you think you are subscribed. And if this thing goes on sale, the optic goes on sale, the ammo goes on sale, the light goes on sale, anything goes on sale, it will be in my daily deals email. And as the name indicates, the email goes out every day and it has 6 or 7 of the best deals that we find around the internet. If it's in that email, it's the cheapest I know of anywhere on the internet, so you can sign up again at that website below. And if you think you are subscribed, if you've double checked and you're still not seeing 2 to 4 videos a week here on the channel, you can sign up for my email list at the website here on your screen. This email goes out once a month and it has all of the videos rather since the previous month's email goes out, so that way there's no big tech giant censoring your eyes from my content. Of course, I was recently suspended for a month here on YouTube, so who knows what could happen. Additionally, if I'm suspended on YouTube, those videos will still be up on Rumble, and they will be in that email regardless. So that is it. That's really all I have for you guys. Thank you all for watching. I truly appreciate it, and I look forward to hearing your comments on the Smith & Wesson FPC.